Welcome to our morning show on WRCO Radio. Today we're going to talk about, a little bit later on, the book, The Anxious Generation, which links declining teen mental health to increased digital and social media use. And in the studio for the first part of the morning show today will be co-principals Ryan Lemke and Liz Perkins, Administration for Richland Center, and talking about a proposed new policy. So good morning to the both of you.
Morning.
Phil. You both look well rested here today, coming in, right? Summertime. So let's talk about the new policy. It's been talked about in the school board minutes. Liz, I guess we'll start with you. The proposal.
We are proposing going away with cell phones in our building this next school year. We sent an email out to parents a couple weeks ago just to be fully transparent that we were looking to change this in our handbook and that it would be going to the board. They review our handbooks every year. So usually we make small changes, whether it be when classes meet or, different schedules, but this was a bigger one. So we wanted to make sure that we communicated with our families and our students as well as our school board just to ensure that everybody knew we were hoping this would go in effect this school year.
Ryan, this is probably not something that you just all of a sudden had this light bulb moment. You've probably been contemplating this for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, well, the light bulb moment actually came 3 years ago. We had something in our infrastructure break with our internet. And our internet in the building, in the high school building, went out, or I think it was district-wide actually, went out for about 2 weeks. And they were working on trying to fix this. And what we noticed was students socializing face-to-face and just great interaction happening throughout the building. And passing times and lunch. And a staff member, a teacher, came up to me at that point in time and said, wouldn't this be great if we could do this all the time, right? I know it's inconvenient not having internet for certain lessons in the classroom, so that wasn't great part of it, but just the interaction piece, I'm like, this would be great, right, to get back to that and teach those social skills and have students work on those constantly. And from that point forward, we've always kind of thought about it, right? What would this look like? What could this look like? And we've pocketed that, especially since Liz and I have gotten into our new roles. And then last fall, we started kind of heating up our conversations about what would this look like to remove cell phones completely from the building? Students will still be allowed to bring their phones into the building, but they have to be stored and off in their locker. Or, an easier option is leave them in their vehicle if they want to do that. But locker, vehicle, but from bell to bell, that they will not, if approved, they would not be allowed to have their cell phones.
Yeah, so that's the big if right now. It's going to be voted on, I understand, Liz, coming up?
Yep, coming up, I think July 16th is the date. And it goes to our school board. They have the opportunity to ask questions of us if they have more questions. I'm sure they've gotten some feedback from parents, positive and negative. And so we're just hoping that they ask us questions. We hope that in the meantime, families reach out to us if they have questions about it. But it'll go to the board on the 16th.
We all have a phone in our pocket, right? Yeah. So I think we have to lead by example sometimes.
Yep,
too,
I actually left mine out in the vehicle just now. So I don't. We've talked about this. We don't want this to be a punishment for our students, but it's definitely an awareness. It's an awareness as parents. It's an awareness as principals. I think we all, adults and students, have realized how much our devices do consume us and how much time away they take away from our friends and our family. So we do plan to lead intentionally also and just be more aware. Obviously, we are overseeing a building of staff and students, so our students may see us still using them because we do have to communicate for emergencies when we oversee those students, but our students are in charge of themselves, and we want to limit those distractions in the classroom for them. I think just one thing that we saw, we went to 2 lunches this past school year, and we're seeing students just looking at their phones during lunch, and some students that don't have phones are just sitting there and not getting that conversation. So just those small pieces of change, I think, are going to make our students happier and our building just have a better culture.
What is the proposal then if a parent wants to get a hold of a student? Are you taking some other steps, Ryan, to ensure that then?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've had some really good questions from some parents and community members about that specifically. And they're really, really good questions. And the first thing is each student in the building, when they enroll, in first day of school, they get a district-provided Chromebook, and each Chromebook comes locked and loaded with a with a school email address for the student. So each student has their own email. So if it's something simple like, hey, I've got a basketball practice and I forgot my shoes, right? A student can pull up email during passing time, during lunch, or even during class if they ask the teacher, hey, can I send an email to my mom real quick, whatever, and get my basketball shoes here? I'm likely teachers are going to say, yeah, no problem. If they're middle of a test, obviously that answer might be different, but we're going to talk to our staff about that. So that's the first thing on those like non-emergent type situations. It's very easy to still communicate with parents and guardians throughout the school day when you need to. And it just limits access to social media and the negatives that the phones have, right? So that's the big one. And then the second one is if it's a family emergency, and a parent needs to get a hold of a student right away, call the school. We'll be ready. We'll go get that student from class or get them down to the office or whatever the situation needs. And we've already done that, right? We're not strangers to those situations. Those things still happen, especially since students weren't allowed to have their phones out during instructional time. Okay, so it's a small change there. With just it won't have them on their person. So we'll still do that and plan for those emergency situations with our front office staff.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important. That's probably the biggest thing where parents might have a little bit of apprehension, right, Liz?
Yeah, emergencies. We have Officer Wilson in our building, and he's kind of met with us to talk about this, and it's found that if there is indeed a true emergency in the building, often phone lines can get bogged up or miscommunication could be made, and a student may feel like something's happened in the building that is not. We had a situation last year where we had a student that had a medical emergency, and we had to put the students in the gym. It was a lunchtime, and just have them wait there while they could get help. And students thought that there was other things going on and calling home and worrying their parents. So, we are diligent about emailing immediately or putting out some sort of alert if they would need to know. But our teachers are trained to handle emergencies in the classroom, and we want our students focused on what the teachers are telling them they need to do at that time.
Have either of you received any feedback here so far since we've talked about the policy, right?
Yeah, we have. We've gotten a significant amount of positive feedback from parents and community members saying they're very in support of this. And that's just talking about the emails. I know Mrs. Stoltz, and she's our district marketing communications director, and she kind of watches the social media, and she says that's been the same. I don't pay attention to that stuff, but definitely the emails have been overwhelmingly positive. And like I said, there have been a few parents that have reached out with specific concerns, like with questions, and those are, we encourage those questions to come in because, and there may be things that we're not thinking of, right? So those questions could jog us like, oh, yep, we have to do this, right? So it's helpful for us. The feedback's great, but I would say at this point, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Liz? Anything that you've heard?
Yeah, I the same thing. We tend to get the same emails back because we put the message out together. A couple questions, our students are involved in so many things, which we encourage. I hope that by putting the cell phones away, it's going to make them even more involved. But a question has been, what about sports changes? What about club meeting changes? And we have Sports U. People probably have it as an app on their phone right now, myself included, but you can have that sent to you by email. So if there's an update, and a coach puts out an update, a student could get an email if they sign up that way also. I actually just tested it out this week because I wasn't using that feature. I was just using the app on my phone. And I got a message from a coach for my son that said there's a change, and it worked well for that.
I'm guessing you being a spring sports coach too, Ryan, good old baseball season, you get a lot of rainouts and changes of times and things too, don't you?
Yeah, a lot of mix-ups in the schedule for spring for sure. And we're prepared, when those things happen. You think of the winter time, like all of a sudden we got an early out because of snow coming in or something like that. We'll still make those PA announcements in the building, right? So you say girls basketball team, you're not leaving at 2:00 to go to Green Bay or whatever it is, and game's been canceled due to weather or whatever. We can still hop on their PA system and make those announcements, and we'll still plan on doing that. Even in the spring, sometimes those things get crazy, but typically our cutoff time, depends if the team's traveling, but it's around 1 or 2 o'clock to make those decisions, and we'll have all of our information at the point in time. One of us will hop on the PA and say, okay, track's canceled, baseball's postponed until tomorrow, softball's doing this, and soccer's on as normal, whatever it is, right? We can make those all calls in the building. That's not a problem.
So what about what's the policy then if a student is caught with a phone and using the phone, Liz?
Yeah, so we've talked to some other schools that have recently done this. We are not alone in this. It's kind of just been slowly transitioning for other schools too. But at this time, we believe that we would have the student bring their phone to the office and leave it there and have a parent or a guardian come pick it up. So a parent or guardian would need to pick it up if your student was caught with your phone, as well as an after-school detention, just to kind of hit home, like this is what we're sticking with this school year, and we can't do this. So and it would increase if it continued to happen.
Mm-hmm. You need support from the home too, don't you? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's funny. We've had cell phone violations in the past, and typically those phones just live in the office. Student can come grab it at the end of the day, and then they go on. But we have had parents call in when those things happen and say, keep it, don't give it back to them, and they can get it back on Friday, right? So I anticipate with parents coming to get it, maybe that could be something that happens a little bit more frequently. Parents are saying, hey, just leave it there, I'll come get it on Thursday or whenever they decide they want their kid to have their phone back. But and I know parents are battling this at home, right? It's a constant battle. Actually, funny enough, I've heard, I don't know if this is actually true, but I've heard there's a new Toy Story coming out, and the bad guy in the movie is an iPad, which I think is hysterical. So if that's true, that's great. But I think that this is a front that parents are fighting constantly, and they're trying to get their kids off their phones and get them active and outside and doing different things, whether it's working or playing sports or whatever. But high school aged students, it's a great time of their lives. They shouldn't be locked into a screen for it, right? They should go experience life. Even when you're driving, it sounds simple, right? But we live in a beautiful area, right? And you're driving on a phone, and I've got a nephew that does this all the time, drives me nuts. Okay, we're driving somewhere to a baseball game or something. He's just on his phone, on Snapchat, staring at it. I'm like, what could you possibly be doing? Look outside. Look how amazing what this area is we're driving through right now. And so certainly, I think parents are going to be fighting the same battle, but supporting us with it as well for the most part. And like I said earlier, we're always open to that feedback.
I was really impressed by the screenless summer that your district put out this year, Liz. I thought that was a real positive thing.
Yeah, and maybe you've seen Homer's been in action doing some of the things along with the students. But I think that as adults and students, we just have to be more mindful of the amount of time that we are taking on our screens. So Homer is leading the way with that, and we're super proud to lead a screenless summer as well.
Can you see that this is going to lead to fewer distractions this year in school and things like that?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be tough at the start. This is a big change for our students, especially coming off of summer when maybe they have been on it a little more. But our students are great, right? And I always say we go visit other schools and they're doing great just to learn, but we love our students, and I think they know that. I hope they know that, and we aren't doing this to punish them. I said that earlier. We are not. We are not doing this to go backwards in time. We want to teach them to use email. I think we've sent things in email to them before, and they're like, I didn't read that. But at high school, we are preparing them for their future after high school, whether they're going to the workforce or college, and they're going to have to learn to use their email, write appropriate emails. So this is not going back in time. They still have time in the mornings before that first bell rings to take pictures. If it's homecoming week and they're dressed as a twin with their friend, we're not taking them away during sporting events, during after-school club activities. So they're going to have those moments that they can still capture. And if there is certainly something that happens in the middle of a English class that needs a photo, we can either, we have a great communications director, Carrie Stoltz, and I'm sure even a teacher would snap it for them quick and send it to them. But we really just want them focused in the classroom on their learning with their peers, talking to their peers, and not distracted by things that they may feel is really big at that moment, and they're losing out on their lesson. And if they just give it a day with their phone away, sometimes those things just dissipate on their own with a few hours.
Could you see this leading to not that there's been a huge problem, but less bullying and things like that, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you're right. It's not a huge problem. I think we've as a district done a much better job of being aware and cutting down on it and putting programs in place to stop it. So, in the building last year, we had 7 bullying offenses that took place, and 4 of them came in the format of cyberbullying, right? And directly just phones during the day, right, on different social media platforms. So I think we can cut back on those right away, on just removing the phone from them. And a lot of the times we would kind of get, whether it's bullying or another situation, we'd get students in here, look at what this just happened, and it's a picture on their phone, right? And it's just unneeded things. We'll still have students, we encourage students to come tell us of what's going on, but it seems like when things are posted on social media, it just amplifies the situation, and it travels throughout the building like that. And it's just, we can cut down on this, and I think this will lead to student success and emotional success, and by removing the phones bell to bell, and hopefully we're all talking about in a couple of years that this was a absolutely great move for us, and we've seen a massive decrease in cyberbullying and all the positives that should come with this.
Liz, your whole goal, your whole job is to make responsible ladies and gentlemen later in life. So, again, it's a step forward to hopefully teach them better life skills, isn't it?
Yes, especially communication. They're going to be working with people outside of high school and learning how to, when there is conflict, there's going to be conflicts. We all have that, but learning how to work through that, how to talk through that with people. If students are working through conflict through text messaging or Snapchatting, it doesn't resolve as quickly, and sometimes it can become bigger. So just teaching those skills that they can use after high school, that's what we're here for.
You were talking about your nephew, and I thought of this, and it wasn't at Richland Center. It was another school that I was broadcasting from the bleachers, right amongst the student section. But I looked down once during an exciting play, and probably about 90% were looking at phones, and they were, at a game missing the most exciting play. And I'm like, well, I can't believe that. But
Right. Yeah, it's a real thing. It is kind of frustrating at times when we see that at times at sporting events, and we've talked about it. Like, how do we get students off their phones during sporting events? And the talk of not letting them bring them into an event hasn't happened, right? And there's a lot of reasons why they should be able to have them after school. But it's the same thing when we're at a basketball game, football game, and we see students on their phones missing plays or missing exciting moments or not socializing with each other, and it's too bad. And so we're trying to brainstorm on how we can increase the student participation that just go to visit and watch a game.
So this would just be during school hours, 8 to 3:30?
Yeah, 7:55 to 3:25. Otherwise, Wednesdays we are out by 2:25 because of our PLC time. So just away for the day, from the start of that first bell to the end of that last class.
Are you guys aware then of the book, The Anxious Generation, we're going to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great book. I'm not through it fully yet, but almost there. And just honestly, every time you read a page, it's amazing. You'll learn something completely new, and the statistics are in there are real statistics. They're not like, oh, this guy thinks this, right? These are actual stats, actual students that we're talking about, actual people, and just the negatives that phones and social media have on child brain development is incredible to read about, and it's truly too bad. And I talked about this with Mr. Board a little bit yesterday, that these companies, these social media companies, they're making money through advertisements, and advertisements are paying based on how many people are looking at those ads, and it's all about pickups and those types of things. And it's unfortunate that they're going to put students' health and safety at risk to make some money, but that's unfortunately the way of the world in a lot of ways, and it's our job to kind of combat that, right? It's our job to get in the way and say, no, this is best for students, this is best for kids, this is what we have to do, right? And sometimes those decisions are not popular ones, but when we make decisions, they're truly best for students, right? We always keep that in mind. If we're not making a decision that's best for students, and we're doing something wrong. But this is one that I think is a no-brainer, especially when you look at some of these research. And like I said, the community has been overwhelmingly in support of this thus far. And I'm excited. I'm hopeful on the 16th that this will pass, and we can roll right in 25, 26 and remove this component. Do I think we're going to solve the world's problems? with this change? No, right? We're still going to have students go home and be on their phones, but this is a huge step in the right direction for our community and our kids, and I think our workforce is going to benefit from it. I think our colleges that our students are going to are going to benefit from it. So, and obviously our students will benefit from it greatly, as well as families, right? I think it's just a win for everybody, other than big tech, which frankly I don't care about them. So,
Liz, if district residents are listening and they have questions, concerns, or anything they'd like to bring up, what's the best way to go about contacting?
Ryan and I are both in during the summertime, so you can call directly at the high school. You can also email us if you're more comfortable with that. We've offered to set up some meetings with parents that had concerns, so that is still open if you want to just come in and talk to us. I mean, that's what we're trying to work through here, is just talking to people more. So if you want to come in and talk to us about it, we are going to understand. We're going to understand your concerns. We're both parents. We both live this, but I think we forget as parents sometimes that we can protect them. We think we can protect them from the physical world, but we often forget about the threats of online. And I think if we just band together on this and work together, it'll better our students and their experience in school.
Next up, we're going to talk to Dr. Wright, and he's really dissected this book, so it's going to be a fascinating conversation. So we appreciate you guys coming in for the first part today.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Here's to a good school year. It'll be here before we know it, right?
We're excited for the kids to be back.
Awesome.
And the teachers.
Absolutely.
Co-principals Ryan Lemke and Liz Perkins joining us here on this portion of the morning show.